Hi, I'm TJ, the host of Foro Podcast. The Foro Podcast is a business and personal development podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. The more subscribers we have, the better our chances of bringing aboard people. Thank you. Okay, Ameyaw. Well, this has been quite a while in the making. I think I reached out to you 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been back and forth. But I'm glad you've been able to make time for us today. So, um, well, I know you, but would you introduce yourself?
All right, so I am Ameyaw Debrah. I am an entertainment and lifestyle blogger, content creator, general, and also I do some social media influencing for brands, individuals, campaigns, etc.
Okay, that's nice. The other day, I saw this description of what you do, and I thought it made so much sense. A media entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially new media
Yes.
because I think I went in very early at a time when
Mm,
we really didn't know what it was going to turn into, and sort of I've gone and grown with the various stages. I mean, it's still a space that is changing. We don't even know. I think even before we started this interview, we were talking about the space and
hmm
what it has become and how it's quickly and constantly evolving. And
hmm
so it's been an interesting journey.
What year did you start?
So I think I officially started calling myself a blog in 2008.
2008. Wow.
2008. I mean, I was doing a number of things online, contributing to different platforms. I was also working on a platform called Voices of Africa,
hmm
where all we were doing really was using Nokia phones to create content, edit on the phone, upload onto a server, and then it's published on africanews.com.
hmm
So I had opportunity through that project to go and speak on it at a
hmm
forum in South Africa called it was called Highway Africa. So
Okay.
it was just to tap into everything that was digital, that was evolving and emerging. And so I was invited to go and speak about what we were terming mobile reporting.
hmm
So it was here that I met lots of people in the space, in the digital space. Some were calling themselves bloggers. And I was like, but this is pretty much what me
I've been
I'm doing
doing. Yeah.
already. So when I came back, I was like, Charlie, now let me deliberately put it out there that I'm a blogger
hmm
and let that identity sort of define me. And that then became the starting point to what we have now.
Okay. So, Ameyaw That is your website,
Yes.
which you use for blogging.
Mhm.
That started in 2008.
That started in 2009. That's
2009.
when I registered it. But before that, I had a blog on blogspot.com.
Okay.
I was called the Jaded Renegade. So pretty much I was.
That is such an uninteresting name. Generating.
Renegade. So yeah, I was pretty much doing what I do now, but it was
Mm,
more in the space of entertainment,
mhm,
and I was doing reviews from TV shows to everything in between, and it gathered some steam
mhm,
until the following year. Uh, Jokingly, a friend of mine who owns Ghana Celebrities had approached me to also give him some content because he was in the UK and I was based here. And so I had more access to information to like contribute to my platform. So I was giving him content until the point where I was like, why don't you just create your own
mhm,
a new platform for yourself? And we jokingly were like, let's make it ameyadebrah.com.
mhm,
And I think that really was what made the difference because we didn't have a website that had somebody's name on it. And once I started using that, it was as if the audience were not just reading the content, but they felt attached to the
mm,
person. They could identify that this is the person behind the content. And this was pretty much at the early stage of social media.
mhm,
So it made it easy for people to say, oh, this is the guy who is writing, rather than just going to a place and reading random
Okay.
news and not even knowing the person
Okay.
behind it. So I think for me it was that game changer using
Okay.
my name.
So writing and putting out the infotainment and then celebrity news.
Mhm.
Did you always like writing?
Well, so I might have not liked writing, but I
Mm.
liked entertainment.
Oh, I see.
I mean, growing up, at some point, my parents were in the UK and they would record all the entertainment stuff
Mm.
and bring it to us on VCR and we watch it back. And I got attached to a lot of that. And so when eventually DSTV came to town and a lot of the programming, I would watch some
Mhm.
interview shows. People really didn't care about those back
Back
then. They
then,
just
okay.
watched the films, the music perhaps, but I would watch the entertainment shows, how they presented it. So for me, if ever I was going to do something in that space, I knew what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
but perhaps I was now going to localize it so that it fits into
The
the
Ghanaian
Ghanaian
scene.
setting. Writing, interestingly, I love writing when it came to English as a course, but beyond that, I wasn't taking it seriously. But when I was at the Saddle College, although I was a general science student,
Hmm.
I joined the Writers and Debaters Club, and that sort of started my interest in writing beyond classroom writing. And then when I finished, I decided an opportunity came for me to enter the university a year ahead of my time. And so when I look at the forms from Kenyan University, I saw publishing. I was like,
There's
let me
something
just
on
give it
it.
a try.
Yeah.
It's not my time to go. If I don't get it, I'll wait till the next year.
Hmm.
And then fortunately, I was accepted. So I went to pursue it wasn't what I thought it would be on paper. It was more bookmaking. But then again, they did teach you the rudiments of writing, publishing, editing, and all of that. And so that was now when it has transformed into even becoming a career.
Mm.
And again, in tech, I won the best publishing student award, and so it was sponsored by Ovation magazine. And they were like, after school, if I wanted to do my national
You
service,
could do it
I
there.
could do it there.
Mhm.
So I took up that offer, and that now led to the next stage of writing as some sort of a journalist. And then I started building on it to now develop
Okay.
myself.
All right. So after 2009, when did you start doing it full time?
I think I started doing full time probably from 2012-ish.
Okay.
Or
3 years.
10 to
10.
11 to
Okay.
2. I
You
can't
can't
quite
remember.
remember because once when I started doing ameyadebrah.com, I was also at that time my work with the Voices of Africa project had ended, and Ghana Web had seen some of the work I'd done with them, and so now wanted me to become content editor for them. So I took up the Ghana Web job,
Hmm.
uh, while the Ameyaw Debrah was also happening on the
Hmm.
side, and so I was doing both until the Ghana web owner came to Ghana for the very first time because his dad, she had never really
There's a
been
lot of
here
controversy about it.
about that.
About.
So he comes to Ghana, and then when he's listening to radio, this event is happening here. Media partner, Ameyaw.com. It's like, hey, so this Ameyaw.com is gathering steam like that. It's a
Yeah.
big thing. And so now he started raising issues about conflict of interest. He gave me options. They wanted to buy Ameyaw.com to become Ghana web. So I'll be
Was the offer good
it,
at
it,
that
it,
time?
it was cool.
It was cool.
But for me, I I was like, I'm onto something. It's not making me millions,
Hmm.
but I like the feel of owning something and people liking it.
Mm.
Uh, so I didn't want to let go of
Hmm.
that. So eventually I had to. And
Okay.
then that's when perhaps the entrepreneur in me started building and saying that, okay, let's now make ameyadebrah.com a
Hmm.
full-time thing. And then, and with that, the mindset started changing
Okay.
because strategy wise, a lot of people had worked with in the past. and I was probably just doing things for free. Now I would take a token and say, hey, this is my rate card. If you needed this, this is how much I'll charge. And so now I started thinking of it as a business because I wanted it was going to be the only thing I was doing
Full time.
full
Yeah.
time.
So how did the I know usually the change from working freelance to full time is big.
Mhm.
And once you give somebody a rate card,
Mhm.
the perception sometimes it won't be too friendly because then
Oh, yeah.
you've done this for me for free.
Mhm.
Now you're coming back
Yeah.
to ask me to do it for you for a price.
Yeah.
What was the reception like?
Well, I think there was that initial hurdle, but also because I made myself flexible because at the end of the day, the service I provided wasn't like it doesn't require a lot of things to produce and then achieve. So I could sort of balance and say, okay, this is just about enough to take care of what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I don't mind. So, and I think because what I was doing had a human face to it. The brand was in my name, people can relate to. So it was more of relations.
Oh,
And let's also not forget, at that time, businesses were not even seeing digital as an option.
even PR.
Yeah. So all the money, every kind of budget was going to traditional media. So you struggle to pull anything. It's not like now that people sort of understand the
And see the
space
value.
and
Yeah.
readily would pay for it. So we went through all of those growing pains in terms of the ecosystem not being ready to what it is now. So those were the things. And like you rightfully said, initially people would be like, they'd rather have it for free because you've done it for free or they've seen other people do it for free. But I think it's just people understanding that now it's a business. This is where we want to take it to, and then a lot of people tagged along. And also for me, I think I now created relationships also with agencies,
Okay.
advertising agencies, PR companies, and things like that. And so that sometimes took away some of that kind of you going out speaking for yourself, looking for all of that.
So
Because these people were already dealing with brands. So now they had to, in their own sort of growth and trying to go digital, convince some of these people that this is the new way. And fortunately for me, around that time, I was like the go-to person when anybody wanted something with that space, and so my name would be mentioned. And so I started now creating relationship with those agencies also, and I think that helped.
Did you ever have representation?
I never did,
You
and I
never did.
still
Okay.
don't have.
So it was an informal arrangement between you and the agencies.
Yeah. I mean, it was informal sort of, and then now it's also formal because they know your rates, they know what you're doing, and sometimes you'll talk to the client, and then maybe they'll come back and say, "Well, this is what they can do, this is what they cannot do." So yeah, we formalized it eventually. Also because back then the agencies, most of them were set up to deal with traditional.
Yes,
And
traditional
so
media.
they themselves were undergoing some changes as well. So they needed to have some sort of proof or case to prove whatever they wanted to achieve with their client. So it was an interesting progression.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after 2009, what was your first big paycheck from Ameyaw Debrah that made you feel like? Because sometimes when you start working for yourself, you have all these doubts, fears, and challenges.
Yeah.
But every now and then, as human as we can be, you need that validation. So it comes either through your first big paycheck or your first big client that makes you sit down and think that, you know what, maybe I'm a big deal.
Doing something, yeah. Yes, I think I remember a few. The earliest, one of the early ones would be Vodafone. I think Vodafone.
What year?
I can't quite remember.
You can't quite remember.
But they were launching their Vodafone Icon series, and so it was a new talent show. They needed that to be top of mind and all of that. So I can't remember the amount, but there was what I liked was there was a fee they were paying, and on top of it, they were giving me gadgets and data. So I think the Samsung, one of the Galaxy tabs were very new. I had it to work with.
That's like 2012ish. Because I can
I
remember
can
the
remember,
Galaxy
yeah.
Tab. Yeah.
So, and so that was one key thing. And then later on, I now had a relationship with Samsung also. And then another one I remember is with Motor Guinness, because that became like the first time that I was used for commercials.
Mm.
So I was they had a campaign, Africa Rising. So we shot TVCs for it. We were on billboards. We were on
Mm.
all of that. So it took it to a different level also. So I was like, Charlie, I'm becoming a big deal. And I remember there was one time I kept going to events and seeing MTN officials, and one kept looking at me. I think it was with marketing also.
Mhm.
And then one time we went to one event. I was like, You are Ameyaw Debrah?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, you know what? Every time at a general meeting, annual meetings, your name pops up, but we just don't know
The
how
face.
to
Yeah.
engage with you
Mm.
because of the space you belong to. And MTN is a big deal. Everybody would want to do something. After he said that, it took about another 1 year before I got my first sort of gig
Mhm.
from MTN. And then it's all part of that validation. You feel like, Charlie, people are observing you. Sometimes for me, because of the way I am, I'm in my corner, I'm in my room. I do work. I pop out, see people. I leave. I come back. So for me, my mind is all. I'm in my corner doing my thing. I sometimes don't expect that people are really watching
Mhm.
and observing. Somebody can meet you and say you posted this sometime, but I'm like, hey, I don't even remember. But it shows you that people are really, 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 really paying attention.
Okay. So from 2009, um, social media, new media, online presence was new. Blogs were entirely new. I remember Blogspot back in the day.
Mhm.
The biggest blog that around that time, from which I remember, was Huffington Post.
But
And now it's turned into,
the whole media.
yeah, the whole media thing. So what was it like in Ghana when you would introduce yourself to people that, hey, I'm Ameyaw, I'm a blogger?
Mhm.
What was the reaction like?
I mean, the reaction, some people didn't know,
You
and
had to
then
explain.
you had to explain. But then also, fortunately, because social media was sort of buzzing, everybody was getting to be in it,
Mhm.
and I was quite visible on those platforms. So it sometimes made the introduction easy. Some people
Oh, I
already
see.
knew you,
Yeah.
and so they sort of were seeing the things you were doing. So in their mind, they had an opinion of what blogging would be,
Mhm.
and so it wasn't always a case of having to explain
Okay.
what I was doing. Yeah.
So since 2009, you've never looked into going back into full-time employment.
So there had been opportunities. Let's go back a little bit. So in 2013, because of how the operations were going, I realized that it was important to sort of register an entity so people could work with, because some agencies would need to work with establishments that
Have been
had
registered,
been
have their
registered,
VATs,
and
everything.
doing all of that. So I formalized the business by registering Ameyaw Debrah Media in 2013. So the plan now was to start hiring, grow, and all of that. And then just about that time, Ringier Ghana Limited, back then they only had All Sports and some other platforms like Tesu and all of that, but they had a product in Nigeria called Pulse,
Yes.
pulse.com .ng, which was doing well. So they wanted to also introduce it to
Mhm.
Ghana. So they approached me. First, they wanted to buy my website.
So it seems you've had multiple offers.
Oh, multiple offers. So the manager now meets me, wanted to buy the website, and I guess trans divert it to now
Pause.
launch
Yeah.
Pulse. And so we had a first meeting, and it was all about buying my website.
Mm.
And then I set up a certain price that was ridiculous, and they were like, "Okay, we cannot." And then we had another meeting, like, "We are now launching this.
Mhm.
We want you to come and lead it."
Mhm.
So then Paul's Ghana came to mind. So a lot of the people that I talked to now let them work with me. I started hiring them for Pulse because Pulse is more launching quickly. So I got the team together. I moved to Pulse. I managed the team, and I mean, even when I was taking on the Pulse job, I made them understand that I will still be doing Ameyaw.com and competing with them, and they understood it. But as operations started, they also now started bringing up the issue of conflict of interest,
Yeah.
and
I mean, which is only
it's
understandable
understandable
because you're in the
the
same
space.
space. I understand why Pulse will feel conflicted because both of you are in the same media space.
Yeah, but I always wanted to be like that niche thing, you know. There's a guy who is doing things in his own name. His focus is very specific. Paul's was not just doing entertainment; they want to do everything else. So that should differentiate us in some way or form. But of course, I can also understand. I mean, that's why it was important right from the beginning that I tell them we are competing. And so if you agree, then that's it.
So you were engaged at Pulse for how long?
So for 6 months.
For 6 months, okay.
And then, I mean, just when I was there, just about when I was about to leave, and then another company, this time from Russia, Ukraine, they had also been in Kenya, Nigeria, Kenya. They also wanted to come to Ghana. So they also emailed me that they want to come and set up, they want me to lead. So just when 6 months when I was leaving, after I left Pulse, the next month, I was starting a new project with them. And that's when we launched Yen, yen.com.gh.
Okay.
So I did Yen for 2 years. I managed Yen. For that one, they didn't have any setup. So I registered the business,
Did everything for them.
bought, rented offices and all of that. And then eventually also left. So these were the other times that now I sort of want to do some sort of job full time or competing for other people. And then so when I left Yen, that was when I came back and I said, let me launch Ameyaw TV. Also because working with Pulse and Yen, which are multinational companies, they came in with the insight of how the space was changing because they had access to all the big players in Europe and the world, from Google to Facebook, and they knew that video was becoming
Was the way
the
to
next thing. So Pulse came in heavy. They set up the video part. Yen was also doing that. So when I let us like, maybe it's now time to also venture into that.
video.
So that's when I decided to launch Ameyaw TV, and yeah, it now became the second aspect of the business we do at Ameyaw Debrah Media.
Before we come to Ameyaw TV, working freelance on AmeyawDebrah.com and Ameyaw Debrah Media, what were some of the challenges that you'd faced early in the days?
Well, I think it's money. Everybody has issues with money.
Cash is king.
Cash is problem, you know. And I think for me, it was peculiarly so because, again, at the time when I peaked, digital was not a thing.
Yeah.
And so all those avenues you could make money from were more looking at traditional media. And so you had to go through those growing pains to a point where now money now became an option. And I remember when I left Ghana Web, just 2 weeks after leaving Ghana Web, Google writes to me and says they've discontinued their AdSense service on my website. And so, you know, as a blogger, the only way you could make money was through
Google
advertising
AdSense,
and all of that. And I've left a job that was paying me to now doing my own thing, and the surest way of making money is now taken from me. But that's when thinking as an entrepreneur came in, finding ways to take tokens from people, creating rate cards that people could work with started coming in, and then gradually the space also kept growing and to the point where now there's money to be made.
Right.
And also there was a challenge of internet, reliable,
And yeah,
consistent internet. Um, we don't know our issues with internet, so I wouldn't even go in there. But these were key things that
yeah.
were some of the challenges.
Okay. You know what I find interesting about working a business cash trap?
Mm-hmm.
It forces you to be innovative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have funds allocated to your disposal, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have it, you start becoming resourceful,
Mm-hmm.
and it drives some element of hunger
Mm-hmm.
down your way because you know that this is do or die,
Exactly.
sink or swim.
Very
So
true.
that's your mind is always on the go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about. I mean, it's not the best to be cash strapped, but
Mm-hmm.
it does have its
Yeah,
advantages.
it makes you find ways and means.
Exactly, because you know I have. This is what I have to do. This
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm setting out to do. There's no way around it. All right. So Ameyaw TV is 5 years ago.
So it's now 8 years.
It's now eight
It's
years
now
in the
eight
making.
years. Yeah.
Wow. So what is Ameyaw TV for those
We
who
don't
don't
know.
know?
Cool. So for me, your TV was supposed to be a visual video representation of what we were doing already. So creating content in video format to represent the news that we were creating.
Mhm.
So now instead of writing news, we're also doing it in the video format to put it on YouTube, to put it on social media, so that those audiences will now also consume that format. If it was events we're covering, it wasn't just text and pictures now. Videos, we are covering the events in full video. So that was the idea, and like I said, it was to now fit into what was the global trend in
Yes,
terms
which
of
is long form
content.
video,
Yeah,
short form
and
video.
yeah. So for me, it now became that outlet, my channel
Mm,
for for meeting that.
mm.
And so, but over the years, the content has I mean, as a creative person, you think of something, you think this is great, but when you put it out there, the audience have a different opinion. You can keep hard at it for a while, but at a point we're like, Charlie, if you don't like it, let me
Yeah,
switch it up, let me change it a little bit. So we've been going through a lot of those
changes.
changes,
Mm.
and I think that is what being creative is about. It's about creating a thing you're passionate about and finding that audience to connect. It's not always easy for everything to connect,
Mhm.
but once you're creative, you still find ways.
All right. So how many does Ameyaw TV have different shows? Is that what I should
Yes.
call it? Or
Yes, I mean, so we have different formats. We have the interview formats. Uh, we have we created formats that were dedicated to businesses. We will go to their farm, their factories, to film and
Mhm.
do some sort of a documentary style. So we've explored different things.
Different.
But currently we are sort of grouping our content into key fields. We have one that covers things that we do on the field, like in the street, talking to people. We have something that we are yet to launch one that is more like a podcast.
Okay.
And so even with that podcast, we have variants talking about one, we talk about lifestyle, one
Mm.
will be focused on interviews with people of interest,
Mhm.
uh, trends, and things like that. So we are grouping what we are doing into uh, under key umbrellas that will take care of similar interest. And then we also have my cooking show,
You
which is
cook?
I'm surprised you haven't seen it. Well, so
I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
so I cook. I mean, it's called American Cook, and
Wow.
I think I developed that because at a point, because I was doing influencing for brands, a lot of people
Mm,
I was promoting became food, and also because of the travel I do, a lot of
mm,
people were seeing me eating different kinds of food and promoting different kinds of
mm.
eateries also. But then I was like, let me prove to them that I don't just eat, I can
You
cook.
can cook. Okay.
So I
That's
came up with
interesting.
a Ameyaw can cook. And I mean, the interesting, even that format has gone through a lot of changes.
Mm.
But the interesting thing is, I try to uh, present different food. Maybe I'll go to Europe, I'll see some food. I'm like, Charlie, what if we presented our fufu in this way?
Yeah.
And so when I come, I'm more or less just experimenting to create something that is local but can still appeal to people who are globally inclined also. So
Okay.
we have that format, and we will be trying different ones as and when also.
All right. So we've seen how social media and YouTube is highly influential in today's world. What are some trends you feel are overhyped and also understated when it comes to social media?
So for me, I'm someone who hates trends. So for me, all trends are overhyped. I mean, because I think people,
Okay, what are some aspects of social media that you personally can't stand?
yeah, I think it's a Gen Z culture and
Wow.
the Gen Z trends because
Give us an example.
it's just a representation of stupid things looking cool,
Mm,
and so I think a lot of it was on TikTok, and a lot of parents and people had issues
yeah,
with
with
TikTok, and I could understand because even some of the dangerous challenges that ended up killing people. I'm like, why would something so stupid become so cool that everybody wants to jump on it, onto
mhm,
it? And that becomes like the downside of these beautiful platforms that we are all enjoying and making businesses out of. I think, uh, and it is forcing consumer behavior to be a certain way.
yes.
Even the platforms are changing.
Mm,
Uh, they, they they are pushing things that are more viral
mhm,
in your face, and half of the time these viral things significantly don't add any value.
mhm,
And that is my challenge. I want it to be a beautiful platform that everybody gets a chance to grow and showcase what talent they have, and they must not be seen trying too hard to fit a certain trend. If that becomes the case, then it defeats what for me I feel creatively social media
mm,
allowed to empower people who wanted to
mm.
create. Because sometimes I make a comment about complaining, and a lot of people feel that pain too. And so it's like all creators cannot do one thing. I remember one time Instagram came together and they were engaging people, and one person was a photographer and he was complaining about how even now his works are not being seen, and the rep from Instagram was like, "Well, now make a reel, a behind the scene of how you. Why must I now go and do something extra
Mhm.
just to get attention to 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 add to what I love doing, which I was doing and people were loving?" So these are some of the things that I have issues with when it comes to social media in general, but it's a wonderful platform. It's made us who we are,
Okay.
and I'm just hoping that more opportunities open up for us in this region, Ghana and Africa in general, so that we really tap into not just the random foolery, but be able to gain uh, skills and opportunities to really earn like
Yeah.
other people are
Yeah.
doing. Because some people are fooling in some reason and are making money, so it makes sense. But there's no point corrupting us to also come and fool, and then we are not even
Yeah.
earning half
It's
of
it's a
what the
shame.
other people are
Payment
doing.
gateways to Africa, something must be done because I haven't seen or heard of any one platform making as many millionaires as YouTube.
Yeah.
There's even a disparity in the amount of payments that goes in the West
Mm-hmm.
and then comes here.
Yeah.
Although there are as many creators out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about Africa as a whole.
African. Yeah. But I can I mean, I can understand YouTube because then again, you are sharing from the revenue of advertisement. And so,
Everybody
if
else,
our
yes.
ecosystem, people are not advertising in Ghana for Ghanaian content
Hmm.
to for people to see,
Generates
to
enough revenue.
generate it,
Yeah.
then so for YouTube, it's a case of not just them, but our ecosystem.
Mm.
So people must now also push in money to advertise on YouTube so that
I feel like it's chicken and egg.
Yeah,
You know, put either wait for the revenue to generate itself or push in incentivize so that
incentivize it.
the
Yeah,
revenue comes.
yeah, but it's difficult
Mm.
because Ghanaians, I don't think Ghanaian businesses are advertising enough
Yeah,
on.
the ad spend is.
Yeah, the ad spend is on Google in general. It's declining
Mhm.
because websites are not being read as much,
Yeah.
and so AdSense showing on websites. Like, why would I go advertise it? People, then YouTube becomes like the only place that my ads perhaps can be seen
Mhm.
when I'm using Google. But people are just not doing enough of that in Ghana, and I think that is the only way we will actually start earning good money for Ghanaian content creators. If not, we have to rely on traffic from elsewhere.
Elsewhere. Okay.
And uh, I think it doesn't naturally, not all of our content will appeal to other people in
Mm,
other regions.
that's true.
And that becomes a bit of a handicap
Okay.
for us in that space.
What are some social media trends that you think are underhyped and should have more visibility?
Well, for me, I like people who are pushing um, things that improve the life of people, whether it's in health, it's in business, but it leaves real impact at the end of the day. And I mean, because I do entertainment, sometimes that people don't even see that, but a big part of what I like to do is supporting people,
Hmm.
supporting creators themselves. So if a young person is sort of creating something new I find exciting, I feel needs support in even promoting, I do that. uh, Small businesses, people who need a little push, if it's to sell their kinky, if it's to do whatever, I want to do something in that regard. And I see a lot of people also pushing social issues. And so, if you see something like the Bastard Boys, what they are able to, how they're able to use social media to drive campaigns around cleaning or cleanliness, it's impressive.
Hmm.
So these are some of the trends I like, and I want to see more of.
Okay. All right. So being on social media and being visible on the internet, it means you've received a lot of harsh comments, and there's not something that stops. How do you go about it? You know, the trolls, the misinformation.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it comes with understanding that that's a space and it will happen. It's come like some sort of a subculture in that space, and so once you're in it, you should expect it. For me, it's understanding why people do it and understanding that sometimes they don't mean to attack you, but some people do it because it's the culture of trolling is cool on
Hmm.
Twitter. So, for instance,
Hmm.
people will say things just so that somebody will laugh, and it's a trend. Everybody is talking about it. They feel cool. So my understanding is some of these people, they don't even mean to insult you or attack you, but they
Hmm.
want to feel cool, and that's the surest way they can do it. And sometimes, most of the time, I overlook it. Sometimes I respond in a witty way just to
So you also fight
I
back.
fight back, but I'm not just fighting back. I want to fight back in a way that is cool, and then people also see it and laugh, just
Mm.
like you were doing it, so that people will see it and laugh. Let's
Mm.
continue that
Hmm.
culture. And so sometimes I do it, but the general way is I try to avoid, because the truth is I do so much that people's comment is the last thing that I would go and be reading. But sometimes you're not busy, you go online, you see the alert, you read, and it's in front of you, so you're tempted to
Hmm.
react or something like that. But yeah, I deal with it on different levels. The best way is to uh, avoid it, and then the platforms also have given you options. You can block the person, you
Yeah.
can silence the person so you don't see further from the. So there are options to clean your. I mean, there was a time when I was looking for a job for when Twitter was coming to Africa, I applied for one of the jobs, and after going through a series of interviews, it became clear that one of the things that some of the key things they take seriously as a platform was the mental health. I mean, they call it. They had th- three key things, but one was about safety and security, and all of these things come under safety and security. So, most of the platforms find way of you to block people who do that, so that it doesn't affect. I mean, over here mental issues are not so much. We don't take it for seriously, but
Yes.
out there, what somebody says can lead to trigger
Yeah,
something else,
depression or something,
and
whatever it's
so
in
they
the
take it
first.
quite
Yeah.
seriously, and that's
Yeah.
why they themselves are making sure that their platforms are equipped to give you that kind of security.
All right. So there are so many video creators and media entrepreneurs out there. What do you think makes a media platform or a media space stand out from the next, so that we're not all
Doing the same thing.
like wearing uniforms?
Yeah. So I think like this is where they say content is key comes in. It's key comes in because at the end of the day, that's what people are there to engage with. So how you do it will now let someone feel that, oh, this guy is different from the next. I mean, the events, the news may be the same, but how you choose to present in terms of style, in terms of format, will make all the difference for the person who is consuming.
So get a unique
Yeah,
style.
have a unique style. Uh, uh, Try different things, and take feedback.
Okay.
Take feedback from your people. And I think that's the strength of online digital. We're able to get feedback, even when we don't want it, we get it. So take feedback, see what people are saying, and incorporate all that into what you're doing. And I mean, being authentic, knowing having your voice is important. I mean, I've been in the space for a long time, and people have come, new things have emerged, but some people still see my relevance and engage with me still, and it's because I I have believed in something, and have that principle is still there, although changes are coming, and so things may change in terms of what it looks like, but the things I believe in are still there, and they are guiding me, and so I don't lose track of that.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about money and business growth. I mean, after all, the reason behind this podcast is to understand entrepreneurs and business and how it grows. I find that many creators or media entrepreneurs get stuck at the free content stage. What is the mindset that needs to shift from free content stage to monetizing it so that it becomes a full-fledged business?
Yeah. So I think the mindset must be from the creator's standpoint. He must now also want to create content that he or she is able to monetize, but also there must be a culture and an ecosystem that supports it. Because if the ecosystem does not understand and support that its money must be made, then you will struggle, because you understand that you must make money, but everything that must work for you to make that money is not available. They don't understand that businesses don't understand that they need to pay this amount for you to create something to the standard they want, or whatever. So all these things must play together, and must work. I mean, I think earlier I said something like, if YouTube is being monetized, you're able to monetize on YouTube, and you're in a country where people are not advertising, all your views are coming from that country, then even though the opportunity to monetize is there, you are not maximizing it, because the ecosystem just does not support it. You now must now go and rely on traffic from somewhere else. And so it's, as much as the mindset can change for those in the business of creating, it must really be a change that is welcomed everywhere,
Mhm.
just to support it.
Okay. What's one unconventional way you've monetized your content that you don't think most people think about?
Yeah. Uh, I think for now, some of the unconventional ways in our I mean, it's conventional elsewhere.
You specifically, not not
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. I mean, it may be conventional elsewhere, but in our immediate environment may not be. And I think my website. So
Mm,
even though people are not reading as much as before, I'm monetizing through SEO, and so people pay for me to publish their articles with
mhm.
links, or just pay for their links to be inserted into some of articles that I've already, so that they get visibility,
Yes.
and all of that. So it's an arm where I'm monetizing. I mean, it has its challenges, but we are doing well,
Mm,
and it's working. And I think I've also opened myself to work with a lot of brands, and
mhm.
so it's not just entertainment that I'm doing, and I found a way to sort of be able to work with different kinds of sectors.
Mm,
And I think a lot of people haven't been able to, they put themselves in a box, and it's just one way.
mm.
But I have presented my platforms in a way that opens to different sectors. And I think that's one thing that unconventionally done. Yeah.
Would you tell us what your biggest paycheck was
Ah,
of all time?
of all time. Well, so I wouldn't mention, but I've had a recurring client
Mm,
from the Emirates,
mhm.
and they pay quite well. Because for me, it's also,
Six figures, seven figures, nine.
well, we haven't got into six figures in terms of dollars
Okay.
yet, but it adds up.
So
Yeah.
CD millionaire.
Yeah, something like that. And I want more of those, because
Yeah.
when you're able to create value for somebody who want to work with you every year, when they have something, that means that you have the value and they see that value.
Yeah.
And so for me, I cherish those relationships. I also have relationship with African Development Bank, and we do different things ever since we started working. And so it's also a relationship I value, and I value all the other people who have
Mm,
given me opportunities in the past, and we are still able to have relationships,
mm,
because that's the only way people like us can thrive. Because there's never been a point where we were about traffic, and so we're
mm,
just doing anything just to get traffic and make money. Um, we've seen that we have to do a good job, and sometimes it is not what is just popular, but it's
okay.
just telling the true story, for people to consume it as it is. And when we are doing that, we can only excel when people support, because they've seen, even if they've not seen it, but they support because they believe in it. And that way we don't have to chase traffic,
Mm.
and the quality of what we do can be maintained throughout.
All right. How do you decide which brand deals to accept and the ones to decline?
Sometimes the money is the ultimate decider, but really, it depends on.
But sometimes you turn down the money.
Yes, I have I've turned some down.
Mm,
I've turned some down because it's in a space that I'm not
mm,
comfortable with, and sometimes I don't turn it down by overprice it, so that if you are selling some sexual enhancement, whatever,
yeah.
you say, why am I going to pay this thing? And
Yeah.
yeah, it would turn it off. It would turn you off. So I have those sort of mechanisms
Mhm.
put in place to check that. But for me, it must be something that the money must be good, and the value that
Mhm.
it comes with should also be there. And sometimes it's even about, not about the money, but the association with this kind of business, this brand or association.
Mhm.
And so being affiliated with that adds something to you in terms of value. And so
Yes.
you look at all of that and then you make the decision.
All right. What's your advice for creators and media entrepreneurs who feel that they need a certain number of followers before they can start or before they can start making real income?
I mean, for me, I believe in creating communities. And so when you create communities small, then the idea is now to grow them. But once you build that audience, that following, and you're able to sustain their interest, then it becomes something that you can even start monetizing,
Mm-hmm.
because you know that these people listen to you when you're talking about whatever you're talking about, and now you can go and show it to somebody and say, we have these people within the community, and this is how they engage
Okay.
when we make things. Of course, the rates may not be as much as somebody with the millions
Mm.
and all of that, millions of followers and millions of engagement, but at least whatever you are able to create some value for it and earn something based on that value you've created with that small audience, and then you progress from there. Because at the end of the day, uh, people want to. This is when you are working with brands who want value for what they are giving you, no matter how big or small. They need to see
The
that
engagement. Yeah.
it's working. So it's that level of engagement that will determine. If the engagement is high, then you're able to ask for more. But if it's not, at least go for what
But that's what
you're worth.
discourages people because most people start thinking that, oh, here I am. I have such a small amount of following. I have been doing this for some time. It hasn't blown up. So then they start getting discouraged. It turns them down because then they talk to other businesses. And the first question is, what's your following? How
Yeah.
many viewers do you have?
Yeah.
What's your engagement rate? You know?
Yeah, so it shouldn't break you down. It should rather equip you. You should understand your audience. You should know the analytics and what it represents. So when you are going to meet somebody, you are not selling it to the person like you have millions of.
Mm-hmm.
You are selling it based on what your audience is. So when the person says, "Oh, you don't have that many people," you say, "Yes, but I have this, and this is what uh, it looks like. And so this is how much we charge." Of course, the person who is the business person should also know that if he's going to look for the numbers, then he's paying for the numbers.
I see.
So make something that is tailored to what you have, and small before you know, if you engage with one brand, now it becomes a case for you to say, "Oh, I work with this person, this is what it achieved," and then you are telling the story and it's growing. So but never give up. I know it's not easy uh to start and grow the audience, but when you're consistent, when you develop some sort of strategy, you're able to achieve better. And even sometimes uh you're able to. So, for instance, if it's going to cost you so much to produce some content,
Mm-hmm.
you now know that if you're going to spend all this to produce, you may not get any return for it. Now, you cut down on what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You reduce perhaps the expectation. I don't know what I'm saying, correct? If it makes sense, but if you
Should we
want,
stop
no,
ahead?
no. I think you see how you edit it in there, but yeah, yeah, it's
My
about,
questions they are thought provoking.
yeah, it has to be. So you have to find ways to. I think what I want to say is maximizing.
Mm-hmm.
If things are not happening, there's no point creating content and you as perhaps renting a Mercedes when you could have gone to a smaller car to work with and
Ah, I
tell
see
the
what you
same
mean.
story. So
Yeah.
I want you to maximize and know that you are doing something amazing and waiting for better days for you, so you even do something more amazing.
Yeah.
So those mindsets are important for beginners. You don't have to get the biggest, most expensive
Piece of
piece of
equipment. Yeah.
equipment. Get something that delivers, that you're able to work and produces an output that is nice, equally nice, and tells the story you want to
So
achieve.
what would you say is more important when it comes to new media, consistency or quality?
I think both are,
And
but
sometimes you can't have both, you know.
no, yeah, ideally you can't have both,
Yeah.
but you must have the mindset of going for both because once you've been consistent to a point, now you can choose not to be so consistent, and then now you're producing one good quality video every week, every month, because it will serve its purpose, and so it's not a matter of doing so much. But you should understand that when we are growing the platform, sometimes they need you to
Be
build
consistent.
to be
Yeah.
consistent. But once you've built the audience you want, then you have that luxury of now focusing on just, even with me, like my Instagram. Before I started, everything was going on, and I think when I launched Ameyaw TV, I'm like, now I mean my personal Instagram, you won't find a lot of things there. It's going to be things that it's curated, and
To Ameyaw TV.
yeah, and I've noticed that the growth is not the same as when I was doing everything that everybody liked.
So people like more of the personal content.
People like it, but it's not more than the general stuff. Especially, I mean, when it comes to what I'm doing, people would have loved to see more of the talking about somebody,
Yeah.
and this person has done that. This person, there's more appetite for that, and the more you do in a market, the more your numbers perhaps will
Bro.
go will
Okay.
go up. But I decided not to do that. I was now doing more curated content around my experiences, even my views on what is trending, perhaps, and the growth was not the same as before. And I realized that everybody else was doing what I was doing before on their pages and consistently growing and going on there. So it's a choice. But then, like I said, once you get the audience and the growth you want, it allows you to now be flexible and say, let's now focus on quality.
Instead
And
of consistency.
yeah,
So in the beginning, consistency.
consistency is important.
But then after you grow, then you start putting on quality.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason why it happens is you can't get a quality without a consistency. You know, daily efforts compound. So after some time, you realize that the daily efforts you've put in has just pushed you in the way of quality.
Quality.
Yeah, that's why I find that. And when it comes to everything else, it's not just being in new media, but once you're consistent in whatever discipline you show up, you start realizing that the quality of effort you're putting in has changed or has automatically peaked. Yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to business, for example, here's what I want to know. You've tried so many things. What's one thing that you put in little efforts but gave you the most returns that surprised you? Something you didn't think was going to do well.
All right, that's a difficult one, but let me say it this way. I think my whole life as a blogger, influencer has been like that because I started, what I did was wasn't something that I at once put in
So much effort.
but then it's yielded lots of results at the end of the day. And even I keep telling people anytime I speak to people at conferences, and that they should always go in with the mindset of start little and then grow. That some people, they want to start and they're thinking about doing everything because you're going to a market you're not so sure of.
Yes.
So you start little in terms of resources, in terms of everything, and then you grow bit by bit. You should understand that what you believe in so much may not even fly when you try it. And using myself as an example, the content that we believe that everybody will love has not always been the case. So if I put all my resources in creating this and it doesn't work, then what next? That is when a lot of people give up because they put in their best foot and it's not working for them, and so they fold up and they're not encouraged. So for me, start little, see what's working, and when something is not working, find a quick way to explore new ideas and see if those would work. And then once the growth is coming, then I went from using phones
Mhm.
to record everything I was doing to now buying my first DSLR camera. Uh, and then from there to now buying anything I want to buy for work. So it starts from somewhere. And for me, my mindset has always been start little and grow.
So don't more or less don't get ahead of yourself. Just
Yeah.
take it day by day, and then growth will be a natural
And
product.
let's not everybody shares like I like to share when people
Yes.
want things, but I think people should ask people who are doing things instead of just admiring from aside and wanting to replicate. There are some people you ask them, oh, so how can I do this? Because I've seen you do it. They may share. Some people may not
You
share.
don't think it's a issue of from our culture? We don't like to share.
I think in general we
In
don't
general, yeah.
we don't like to share, but then that's also why social media comes with its advantages and opportunities, and people should just grab it. If you're following somebody and the person is doing something, you comment, they are happy. Why can't you comment and say, oh, or send a DM and say you did this? Because the opportunity is there. Now you have access to the person, so
Yes.
grab it rather than holding back. Just be out there. I mean, last time I was telling one influencer about how I went to Qatar for the World Cup. How I just started with a tweet and told Qatar Airways that, hey, now that the World Cup is coming to you, please take me along. And it happened. But if I didn't just do it, it wouldn't have.
Somebody would also say it's because you've already built that audience. So of course, Qatar Airways would have done their research.
But they could do their research and find you, and you could also say, hey, I'm here, so look at me.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are opportunities in this platform, in these spaces, and people should use it positively than just the negative
So
way.
don't fear rejection. That's what
No,
you're
no,
saying.
yeah. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They
Yeah.
say, they might not even listen to see your tweet. But in my case, they saw the tweet, they DM'd me and said, write a proposal to this email. And that was it. So never fear. I mean, I think that's what, if you have the understanding or mindset of an entrepreneur, you're not going to fear rejection or failure because you want to do it. So do till it works.
Even my thing is, even if it fails, start again.
Start again.
You know,
Try
because
something.
try something else. Because it takes our concept of time is what doesn't help us when it comes to failure. You know, if there was no time, for example, you try whatever you want to, because then it's obsolete. But then when people feel it's like, oh, I don't have time. Yeah, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years. Still try it. Once you have life,
and times are even different.
yeah.
Maybe your idea that you tried 5 years ago was far advanced for that time. This is the right time for you
For
that
it to go.
it will
Yeah.
take off. So yeah, very true.
All right. So, what's the biggest mistake or misstep you have made in your entrepreneurial journey? Not the biggest, one of something that you wish you could do it in a different way.
Well, I mean, every time I'm asked this question, my answer has been that I hope that I went into it right from the beginning with an entrepreneurship mindset.
Okay.
But then I look back and also realize that there was only so much I could do back then because, again, the ecosystem, the space was not ready fully. And so I had to go through those sort of curves naturally. But I think if I have to do everything again, I'll probably do it the same way.
The same way. Okay.
I'll probably do it the same way.
Who are some new media entrepreneurs that you like?
the ones that I like.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think I've always praised the likes of Black Volta.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they've done. Uh, I think they've understood the brand they want to create and the value they want for it. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. I also like Wodemaya, because he's found a way to really connect with a global audience,
Mm-hmm.
doing something from our side. And locally, I also like uh, Sheldon, Kujo Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
I like what he's been able to do, how he's been able to create different outlets with his products, and how he's been able to have a voice and be strong across platform. I hear somebody who started doing things, step on people's food, and there was a lot of bashing and negativity, but through it all, he sort of has grown, and I think both as a person and as his work, the way what he was doing from the beginning has grown. So these are people in the space that I think are good examples.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Zion Felix is also amazing, because what I like for what he's done is he's sort of really localized everything in the space, and to the barest minimum, and it's paid off in a way that it's nice to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time, those who do very local things, they tend they tend to do it anyhow and in a certain way that me doesn't appeal to. I'm speaking for myself, but he's done it very well. He's turned it into a business, and he's branching even into things outside of media.
Mm-hmm.
So I also like what he's doing.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Hi, this is Ameyaw Debrah. Make sure you subscribe to the Foro Podcast.